Good morning. I'm State Senator Shelley Mayer, and it truly is a thrill to be here with so many of my colleagues in government, as well as those who actually provide these essential service of emergency medical services, which frankly we have all come to take for granted, and we need to change that. So today I'm here with my colleague, Assemblyman Steve Otis. We've introduced a bill in the state legislature, in the Senate, and it'll be forthcoming in the Assembly, that is going to change the way we treat emergency medical services. And particularly, I want to thank so many of my colleagues who I'll introduce who brought this issue to our attention. It's particularly acute because of what happened during COVID. I think all of us sort of expect when we call 911, we're going to have this quality medical service in a brief time, and they're going to be terrific, and they always are. But we have not built an infrastructure to sustain EMS to ensure that those who provide this service are considered an essential service, are recognized for the work they do, and that they are essential providers. And we haven't built the apparatus to encourage people to participate and to stay in this essential profession. So we have a bill that is going to do that. But before I get to that, I want to introduce my colleagues who are here who brought this matter to our attention. Commissioner Richard Wishney, the Westchester County Emergency Services Commissioner, Chris Bradbury, the Village of Rybrook Administrator, Kenny Barton from the Portchester Rybrook EMS Administrator. Also here is Stephanie Fisher, Rybrook Trustee, Greg Usry, Rye City Manager, Stu Rabin, the Portchester Village Manager, Scott Moore, the former Portchester Rybrook EMS Administrator, Bill Henderson from the Rye City Council, Debbie Friedman representing County Legislator Nancy Barr, and if I left anyone else out, they will remind me. I want to say that what happened in August of 2021, Chris Bradbury wrote a very compelling letter to Steve and I, and he said basically that EMS was on the brink of closure. We were just not able to sustain the people, the service, the money, the benefits, and the emotional and legitimizing support that our EMS needed. He propelled Steve and I to move ahead and to introduce a bill that has 5 component parts. I'll go through them very briefly. We identify EMS as an essential service in the law. We allow for EMS workers to have access to health insurance under the New York State Empire Plan so they have a real benefit. We extend pension benefits under the New York State Pension Plan to EMS workers. We require, as a matter of state law, that EMS be provided by local government. Even though so many of them do, we want to make sure it's required. We want to codify, put into law that EMS providers are medical personnel, not just transportation. And we want to establish uniform and regional standards for EMS, with everyone at the table helping to decide exactly what the medical and other standards should be. So this bill has had tremendous traction among our colleagues. There's a real desire to fix this problem once and for all, and it's a national problem. But right now we have to work on it at the state level. So it's my honor to introduce my colleague, Assemblyman Steve Otis, who represents the Sound Shore with me, to speak about this bill, and then to let some of my colleagues speak about the real personal impact that this bill will have. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Shelley. We have a real crisis in emergency response in New York State. And so what do the statistics show? The statistics show, because a lack of staffing and a lack of being able to retain the people that these services need, response time is down. The ability to get responses to emergencies is greatly diminished. So what this legislation does is this legislation gives a quality that other kinds of services, emergency services, receive today, that allow them to retain personnel, allow them, as Shelley said, health benefits, access to pension, other kinds of insurance issues. We need to tackle these and give a quality so that these kinds of services can prosper. We're here with what is a shared service operation here in Rybrook, shared by Rybrook, Portchester, and the city of Rye. And because of the setup, we should not be punishing shared services. We should be encouraging shared services because of the kind of organizational structure that we have right here. So we are going to work very hard to get this legislation passed in Albany. Really kudos to Chris Bradbury and to Richard Wishney for their leadership in guiding the way and giving Shelley and I a toolkit to go and move legislation on. So we have a lot of work to do. This is very important. This is the safety of our families, of our kids, of our senior citizens. We need quality response time, quality services. So we're going to get it done.
Thank you very much. Did I leave out Lindsay Luft? No, I don't think so. Okay, so next is Richard Wishney, the Commissioner of the Westchester County Emergency Services. And I want to clarify, the bill in the Senate is S-8432. The Assembly number will be forthcoming. And this bill already has numerous co-sponsors. There's lots of interest in it, and I'm very optimistic that with this push, we're going to be able to move it forward this year. So with that, Commissioner Wishney.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning, everyone. About a little more than a year ago, County Executive Latimer asked the EMS Advisory Board to study this issue. This crisis has been brewing for decades, and COVID-19 took us to the edge and pushed us over. I can't thank enough Senator Mayer and Assemblyman Otis for stepping up to the plate here. This is a huge change, an historic change. If we can get this bill approved, first and foremost, EMS services will become an essential service, just like police and fire services. Most people don't have a clue that EMS is not an essential service. There's no funding stream. It's been so very difficult for all the EMS providers. Many of them work 2 jobs, 80 hours a week to support their families. And that's why we have a crisis. This is a big deal. And we're meeting on Friday with the county executive and members of the advisory board to figure out what we could do at the county level, how we can support the senator and the assemblyman to get this bill approved, and how we can work at the Westchester County level to bring communities together, share their services. I believe that there's a number of examples in Westchester County where we have special tax districts, where multiple communities work together to try to address this problem. If the senator doesn't mind, I'd like to introduce Chief Mike Vogt, who is responsible for EMS services here in Westchester County. He's also been a provider, an EMS professional for many years, and I think I'd like to have him make a couple of comments. Michael?
Sorry, Michael.
Thank you. I'll keep it short.
No, sure.
Good morning, and thank you. This is really an exciting time for EMS. Personally, I've been an EMS provider my entire adult life, and seeing this change, or the potential for change, is enormous. We've been struggling nationwide, and you really see it locally where providers can't get out to provide the services that the community really needs and deserves. So this initiative is enormous. For example of how we struggle, normally about 3,000 to 4,000 mutual aid calls are done a year. And what that is when an agency cannot get out, or there's multiple calls within a community, they call help. They call their local communities for help. This past year in 2021, the number was over 7,000. So it's an enormous burden for everybody to have to continuously support those agencies who cannot get out. So this is a great initiative. Hopefully EMS will be considered critical in communities, and we can create a real career path for those individuals who want to do this for a living. So thank you again to everybody who's supporting this locally and on the state level. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. You know, I just want to say something personal. You know, when you're not in this world, but you call 911 and you need an ambulance, you think that there is going to be this quality person in there in time caring for your loved one. You have all these assumptions. but they're not in the law. And it's simply because these people who do this profession are the most caring, are dedicated to the caring of people in need. And we just have not built a structure and a law and a financing system that protects them. It's really an outrage that someone like you has spent a lifetime, Michael, in this profession, and we haven't built up the respect and the sustenance economically to keep these professions alive. So I think it's very important for people to understand on the sort of calling side, we need to protect these people who are the true caregivers. And during COVID, they rose to an extraordinary level of sacrifice in order to be there for everyone. So next, I think Chris Bradbury, Rybrook Administrator, and then Kenny Barton. Chris.
As Senator Meyer just said, these are some of the hardest working, most dedicated people that you're going to find. They're here to protect us each and every day, but too often they're under the public radar. People don't realize how much they're doing behind the scenes. These professionals are here for us 24/7 in all conditions, and now they need our help. This is not a Rybrook or a Portchester or a Rye-City problem. This is a problem that affects all the people across the region, the county, the state, and beyond. Impacts such as a stressed mutual aid system, subpar pay and benefits, working 2 or 3 EMS jobs to make ends meet, and the impacts of COVID have all resulted in really bad, severe recruitment and retention problems. These EMS workers that remain, that haven't left, are often faced with long hours and burnout in their efforts to provide this essential service. Thanks to this legislation proposed by Senator Meyer and Steve Otis, this is really a major step towards addressing some of these problems. It deems EMS as an essential service, but what does that mean? It's required that every municipality has to provide EMS. That's currently not a requirement. It also requires that everyone in the state has access to EMS. It's equal access for everybody, and to make sure that this is early intervention healthcare, and that's essential. These are people that start healthcare service at the point of their homes, at the point of response. And that's essential to making this system work, to protecting our residents, and lowering costs as part of the process as well. So it's something that's good on all sides. It helps with recruitment and retention. This legislation makes some major steps towards that, providing a path for better healthcare, better retirement benefits, and establishing this as an essential and dedicated career path. It creates regional and state councils that can help provide standards based on what the needs are in the regions of the state. You know, what's going on in Westchester might be different from other places upstate, but allows for regional councils to determine what those needs are and address things like mutual aid and training and access to revenues and other grants and other services that are out there. In Rybrook, we work very closely with EMS along with Rye-City and Portchester. It's a great shared service. We have a council with some of the colleagues that are here today that work together to serve the needs of the community. But it's a problem that they need some help, and we need to be there for them. Rybrook Village Board has already enthusiastically supported the legislation that's been proposed, and we're urging other municipalities to consider the same. We want to thank Senator Shelley Meyer and also Assemblyman Steve Otis for submitting this legislation and endorsing it. We also want to thank the county, all their support, Richard Wishney, Mike Volk, all their team, and our municipal colleagues. You know, we have our local associations that have also helped bring these issues to light so that everyone can work together as a team to try to make a difference. Raising awareness about these issues and making real change is extremely important. And just a quick aside, I want to thank former administrator of EMS here in the Portchester Rybrook EMS, Scott Moore. He's the one who really originally, from my end, brought a lot of these issues to light to us, brought these to our attention so that we can address it with our colleagues and the county and Senator Meyer and Steve and Assemblyman Otis. So really thanks to Scott for making a difference. He recently retired, so he won't even get to see the benefits of some of these pieces, but you can see the legacy that's brought on and going forward. So this legislation is really should be a nonpartisan issue. We hope for the support of the entire state. This is here to protect those people that protect us and the people that provide it. So they helped us get through COVID, then a lot of other emergencies in the past. They provide an essential service, and now they need our help. So we hope that this is going to continue to gain support and get this done. Thank you.
So Scott Moore, and I also want to acknowledge Andy Booter, my counsel who drafted this legislation, which is complicated and has many elements. But that being said, we are intent on moving this bill. So with that, Scott, who called me early on too and pushed me in the direction early on before we got this going. So thank you, Scott.
Good morning.
Kenny, why did I call you Scott?
That's okay. Scott is the outgoing administrator. It is really thanks to his efforts that we're all here present today to discuss the problems that have become a real struggle for our agency locally and really across the county and across the state and beyond. This is a national problem that's evolving. It has not gotten a lot of attention until just recently. We struggle for manpower. We struggle for staffing. Educational opportunities in the county have been dwindling over time for both EMTs and paramedics. And the hope is that with this legislation and the ability to legitimize a career path for the providers, it's something that would offer them the ability to retire at the end of the day and to possibly not have to work, in excess of 60 to 80 hours a week in order to make ends meet, to make a livable wage to be here in Westchester County. These providers work extremely hard at doing their jobs to provide the service to everyone, and their value to these communities is beyond words. I do want to thank everybody for coming today. Thank specifically Senator Mayer and Assemblyman Otis for sponsoring the legislation. This will change the face of EMS for everyone that's involved in the state of New York if this legislation is able to go through. So the effort is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to a very positive and fruitful outcome going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you so much. Anybody else that I name might have made a mistake on? Thank you all, and we look forward to people contacting their senator and assembly member and saying they want them to co-sponsor this bill so that we can move it forward in the legislature this year. Thank you very much.